Welcome to The Favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Volume Podcast Network. I am Chad Millman of the Action Network. I am live from my Tommy John home studio, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF professional better, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Chad. How we doing?
Dude. Well, I'm exhausted because the cops came to my house last night. Uh, but we're gonna get through it. I had told my wife when I was getting ready for bed, I'm like, listen, I took the dog out, I turned on the alarm. All you have to do is take her downstairs because she likes to sleep in this little spot in the house, but she likes to, be on our bed for a little while before she does that. And my wife stays up later. I go to bed. So of course, my wife didn't listen, goes downstairs, opens the front door, sets off the alarm. Then the security company calls. She gives the wrong safe word for the security company. So they think we're being attacked. So after the alarm goes off, after the security company calls, the cops show up at our house. Can you believe that shit?
That's a fun night, though.
It was such chaos. And my wife comes upstairs and she's like, I am not your sleeping buddy. I know. And because of that, I am up like once I'm asleep and then I'm awake, I'm up for the rest of the night. I never fall back asleep. It is so frustrating. So I'm exhausted, but I'm going to muddle through it because I'm a professional. Today is our NFL wildcard best bets episode. We're going to do something a little bit different with today's show. Normally, we only look at sides for each game. Those are the most popular bets, and we do the contests that are tied to them. But there are fewer games. Our opinions on the sides we like haven't changed that much since Tuesday. We've gotten some new intel that lines are moving, so I think we're feeling more strongly about some games. But we're adding any other bets that we like as well, which a couple people have emailed me about. If we could add that, hopefully that will give folks more to look for, more to root for, more to think about for this weekend. We will, of course, get into the foxhole. We'll give out our Tommy John big balls bet of the week. We'll discuss your biggest bets. We'll do our boosted money line underdog parlay, so on and so on. Later on in the show today, Simon and I did have a chat. This was fantastic, and I encourage everyone to listen with Daniel Winzenberg, the pride of North Dakota. Bell Bells, North Dakota, population 300, and he lives outside of Bell Bells. He's the winner of our $40,000 first place prize in the favorites pro football pick'em contest. An absolute pleasure with a kicker surprise ending that could have Simon and I end up being the most popular names in all of Bell Bells, North Dakota. So please listen for that. He's great and he deserves the attention. Bets are rolling in, lines are moving, decisions need to be made. As our volume podcast boss, Colin Cowherd, likes to say, there's a sea of money out there. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. And now, new Bet365 customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code Favorites, deposit $50, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. All right, as always, on Thursdays, we like to hear how the wise guys are responding to our Tuesday conversation. I especially like to hear how they're responding to me and our Tuesday conversation. But whatever the case is, they feel compelled to weigh in on our opinions. Let's do sharp calls.
Yeah, it's a week of some disagreement, Chad. I think we already knew that coming into this. We loved the Chargers, so let's start with that one. We are firmly with Joe Public on that one. Basically, any pro I've talked to for the most part is on the other side, and I kind of knew they were going to be because all the trends kind of favored the Houston side, but I thought it would be more people basing off their models and just what they've watched, and I think they're just going to play the statistical numbers, and the the fact that the percentages say if you long term, you bet Houston in this exact spot, that's a winner long term. But me and Chad ain't here to do that. Me and Chad are going with a bet that we think is smart, and we think we're getting a great number, especially at -2.5. So that feels like the biggest sharp trap of the week. It feels like they're walking into one, and that everyone just pretty much patting each other on the ass and saying how smart each other are on Houston. And could they cover it? Sure. Houston's been a team that's played close games all season. I don't fault them for taking the 3. But I just don't understand the logic not taking the 2.5 on the Chargers. To me, that's the
We
value.
will not be bullied, Simon.
No. So I'm excited to break that one down even more because I do have opinion on that total. Next game, shockingly, Chad, the pros I've talked to like the Ravens, which I am shocked by. I thought it would be Pittsburgh heavy. It's not as obviously there are pros like me who just are taking that 10. Like, how do you not take that +10? That was such a great number. Still feels like a gift. Even Bet365 is still holding at 10 at their book. But when you talk to a lot of these bookmakers, it's like the amount of money they have on the Ravens, adding in professional money that's come in on the Ravens, especially early. Like the Ravens opened 7.5. Like that was basically all the money they got early was just professional money. And pretty interesting hearing guys, though, still willing to take the Ravens at -9.5. And I don't know. It feels like I'm taking crazy pills here. And I get where they're coming from, right? Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game since whatever it is, 2017, 2018. I understand that. But I can't believe these guys are this confident taking a double-digit favorite in against a divisional foe who's they've struggled against. So again, that's another game we're going to go through. You were on the professional side in this Bills one. I thought more pros were on Denver. It's split for sure, but it's more pros I've talked to do like this Bills side, and it is going back to what we talked about with Evan, or I guess we haven't yet, but just basically these quarterbacks making their first start. It's a real thing. We have the numbers that back it up. Like it's just different. The playoffs are simply just different, and now you factor in that this is a rookie making their first start, and yeah, we had a little run there where, Brock Purdy won his first start. CJ last year, right, against Joe Flacco on the Browns, won his first start. So we have had a little comeback the other way. That makes me even more confident in this going the other way because we are due for more of these first-time quarterbacks to get losses here. So that was one that jumped out. I did not think pros would be on the Bills, but they love the Bills. We are on the public side, Chad. I think you already knew that. Our Eagles love is heavily public. I think I talked to a handful of guys that had bet the Eagles, but none of it with confidence. Everyone I've talked to thinks this is a trap game for this Eagles team, and that too many people are discounting and counting out this Green Bay team that, I think you touched on a little bit, Chad, with LaFleur. They're just such a well-coached team, and he performs so well as an underdog. This is really a LaFleur spot. Like in this exact scenario, he tends to cover these numbers. So, doesn't make me feel great. I got this at a -6 number, and I had a couple guys being like, you're fucking way off. That's a bad number. You should have trusted your original number of 4. And I push back on that. I just think this Eagles team is just so good across the board, and they're fully healthy. Even watching Jalen Hurts in that practice the other day, it's like, you would never know he was coming off 2 weeks of a concussion and not working out. Like he just looks fully informed, ready to go. So I'm excited to break that one down. See if your confidence wavered at all. Like, I still love the Eagles, but I'm probably going to invest a little bit more in Green Bay first quarter, Green Bay first half. So that'll be a little bit of a hedge where I trust the Eagles to really roll them in the second half, but I agree with the professionals that they think the Eagles might come out slow, a little sloppy against a Green Bay team that is going to be prepared and ready to play in this game. Here's a game that we love. The professionals love Washington, Tampa Bay. We love Tampa. The pros love Tampa. Public loves Commanders. We already know that. So I don't even need to dive into that too much. We'll break that down when we go through the games. Last one, not a shocker at all. I mean, this is another side we love, Rams. The public loves Minnesota. I haven't talked to a single pro yet that has taken the Vikings side. And, a couple guys I talked to haven't bet this. Their view is I can wait and maybe this number will flip and I can get this Vikings team as a dog, and that's the position I want to be on. And I joke with them. I'm on the complete same mindset from the other side where it's like I've been betting the 1.5s on this Rams team, but I really been loading up on teasers with them. Like, this is my favorite teaser team, them and the Bills. I know it's sacrilege to tease through 0 long teasers, but I kind of don't really respect long teasers, especially when it comes to playoff time. I feel like it's a little outdated. I've been teasing the Chargers through 0 up to 3.5. So I have a couple, them at 3.5, Rams up to 7.5. I just love this number. And, that's a game where, yes, we know what's happening in California, me and Chad. We think of all these people and all these guys' families who are being affected by these fires. And could that be a major issue for a lot of these Rams players who do have stuff going on outside the field and they have major distractions? Of course, but me and Chad, we can't handicap that. Like, we're just going off the numbers here. So, yeah, for the most part, Chad, we're dead on with our love of the Bucs and the Rams. On the other games, it all sounds pretty split up between the professionals. So it's an interesting week for sure.
Well, let's get into it. Let's start with that Chargers game. Right now, the number at Bet365 is Chargers -3. The total is 42.5. There is a 2.5 out there. It is available. I've hit the 2.5 a couple times. I know, Simon, you've probably hit it more. This was my exact decision. Stats that I didn't mention on Tuesday. And again, I know, the wise guys, they have been leaning into the Texans. If you listen to Stuckey and Raybon on the Action Network pod, they freaking love the Texans this weekend. CJ Stroud finished 31st in EPA and completion percentage over expectation. Okay. The Texans finished 31st in early down success rate, ahead of just the Browns. We talked about the O-line. CJ Stroud pressured 28% of his dropbacks. That was second most in the league. And one of the reasons a lot of the analysts all season long, if you read anybody who was breaking down CJ Stroud's troubles, they were talking about his Achilles heel this year has been against defenses running too high safety schemes. Chargers do this nearly 60% of the time, and Stroud's YPA against this is 28th, and his QB rating is 31st. So I still feel good about it. I am not expecting some kind of miraculous recovery that all of a sudden this team is going to be different than it was all throughout the season. Normally in the playoffs, when teams lose, they lose because of the same things they did all season long, right? Isn't that always what happens? Like, you watch a playoff game and the things that had been bugaboos for teams throughout the year are the reasons why they can't convert, can't get over the top in the playoffs. The things that the Chargers are good at are the things that the Texans have struggled with. I don't get the love, Simon. I don't get the wise guy love for the Texans here at all.
Well, again, a bunch of different things that I think they look into, especially if you're looking at the trends, is this is another tough road game and a tough spot for this Chargers team. And historically, when teams have played a bunch of road games in a row, right, doesn't work out for them, right, heading into the playoffs. We've kind of seen it that, Evan had amazing stats. Since 2003, teams that are on their third road games or later on any road trip, they're 45-71 straight up, so 39%. And these teams are 5-12 straight up over the last 3 seasons, this exact spot. So that's kind of the logic, right? That they're like, okay.
You know what I would like to know? I'd like to know, maybe, Evan, you can figure this out and we can talk about it at the show. Teams that are on the third road game as a favorite, I don't know what the sample size of this is going to be, for Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick, the coaches who I think are real difference makers. You can throw in some John Harbaugh, other coaches who in these past 20 years have been real factors when it comes to power rating these teams. And I think this year it matters more than ever. And I just think that's going to put them in a better position to accumulate points in the exact spot where they need to.
And just to close it out, and basically a team like the Chargers playing this exact spot, so 3 straight road games into the playoffs, they're 11-27 straight up. So they only win 29% of the time. So that's what I said on Tuesday. I was fine with me, Chad, betting that 30%. Like, again, it happens obviously that 1 out of 3 times. So we're basically banking on that here, making this bet for the most part. But it really is all about kind of what you just touched on there. It's about this Chargers team, their coaching, Herbert himself. Like, I just have a ton of confidence in this guy, especially as a favorite on the road. Like, he's been really good to us as a favorite on the road. And usually when the books price him that way, it tends to go our way. And, he's 7-1 against the spread in this exact spot, his last 8. So it's like he clearly has done really well in this exact scenario, being on the road as a favorite. And, it's interesting talking to pros, just why they're so confident in this Texan thing. When you do push them, Chad, and you try to get them to really break it down, it feels like they're betting on a Texans team that doesn't exist anymore.
I
Like
was
they're
just, those are the exact words. When you were saying they're betting on the Texans teams, I was in my head, I'm saying that doesn't exist. It's not
yeah,
the Texans team that they think they're betting.
and I
This Texans
agree.
team, what they're really good at on defense is pressuring the quarterback. The Chargers have 2 of the best tackles in the NFL, and Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. So the one thing that they're great at, and their secondary is so banged up, they're down to third stringers across the board. When you're talking about cornerbacks, like, well, not Stingley, obviously, but in other positions, they can stop the pressure because their tackles are so good.
And I do see a world where they can cover this number just because, yes, if the moment's too big for Herbert and Houston's defense, who has played really well all season, we know how great of a coach D'Amico Ryans is and how he just gets his defense fired up and ready to play in almost every game. That is their formula, right? Somehow keep this game ugly and close. But we've seen it. This Chargers team, they just don't play that. They're never the ones that make the mistakes. And if you want to play ugly, they're happy to play it ugly. Like they are more than happy to do that. But we've seen them kind of transition this second half of the season where, Herbert's just gotten so much more comfortable with these wide receivers. And his receivers, we can knock them for their drops. They have gotten better as the season's gone along here. And his connection with Ladd McConkey's grown as well. So it's like, it feels like these are 2 different teams that I don't think the professionals give enough credit to this Chargers team, how they've improved, and discrediting this Houston team that have lost so many key pieces to this team. So, yeah, will me and Chad be killing ourselves if this lands on 2? If the Chargers win, but it's by 2, and we've been joking all season how important 2.5 is, yes, that's going to hurt. But I have to trust the number here and think me and you are getting a really good number. And if you're like me and you're kind of feeling like a little bit of a coward with this one just because the pros are so heavy on Houston, tease it through 0. Like, if you're getting Chargers 3.5, there's no scenario I see Houston winning by more than 3 if they do win this. Like, that to me is by far the safest bet. But if you like to be a risk taker, which me and Chad are, I don't know how you don't take this Chargers number here. And, obviously I keep talking about this defense here. I love the under as well. Like, this is, to me, another play on this game where it's like, that's way too high of a total. I got it at 41. It was 43.5. It's been bet down to 42.5. Still, that's a key number. You're still getting great value on this number. So there's a couple games I like the under in. This is towards the top of my list. I really love this under.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I lean when I want to talk about the total. So I lean that way as well. I think it'll be conservative. I think they're gonna try to limit their own mistakes, potentially forcing some from Stroud,
And we'll know
running the
we'll be
clock.
dead. And playoffs are weird. We'll be dead in a minute, Chad, if this goes over. Like, if it's 20-14 the first half, the writing's on the wall. We're dead. But
Yeah.
that's my view of this, where it's like I can just see one offense of one of these teams showing up, and the other offense just not be able to get it going. Because, like we said, these are 2 defenses that do know how to scheme it up and play well against teams. So, yeah, I do love this total.
Pittsburgh is a 9-point underdog right now at Bet365 against the, no, 9.5, I'm sorry, against the Ravens. The total 43.5. This was Simon Says when it was at 10. It has moved to 9.5. It's at 10 in some other places. It was 10 at Bet365 this morning, and now it's back down. So we do not officially know the status of Zay Flowers. He did not practice earlier this week. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network has reported that he is a long shot to play. Like, we talked on Tuesday, we were going to run through some of the trends for the Steelers, and it does worry me how well teams that are double-digit faves have performed in the wild card round. But this is not the same Steelers team, I think, that lost 34-17 to the Steelers, that lost 34-17 to the Ravens a few weeks ago. Reminder, under Tomlin, Steelers are 6-1 as a dog of more than 3 points versus the Ravens. That one loss was on the 21st of December. Over the last 20 years, underdog in this series, 74%. Underdog, 16-3-1 since 2015. Tomlin, 21-16 straight up, 19-15-3 against the spread versus John Harbaugh. As a dog, 13-3-2. Now you tell me how much you hate playing Lamar in the playoffs, because you do, but I just think the Steelers defense is better than it was when they played on the 21st. They were missing a lot of guys in the secondary. We talked about Joey Porter going out of the middle of that game. That's when the tide started to turn, and they really needed to be perfect on offense, and they weren't. So I'm still good with the Steelers here at 10. Obviously would rather have the 10 than 9.5. I'm surprised the wise guys are so confident about the Ravens.
I think their confidence stems from the struggle of Russell Wilson down the stretch. And if even that game you're talking about, if you go back to it, it's a 7-7 game, and they are driving the field, Pittsburgh. They're into the red zone. Russell Wilson runs with the ball.
Yeah.
And instead of sliding, he tries to get that extra 1 or 2 yards, gets popped and fumbles. That, to me, would flip that whole game. Like, that gave all the momentum back to the Ravens. And then we know the history, right? They got 2 more injuries on the defense. You just talked about Joey Porter Jr. went out in that game. All of a sudden, it was just rolling. Like, Lamar was into his zone. That's the key for Lamar. If he gets into his zone, into a rhythm, we're probably going to be cooked here, brother. Like, this guy is the 2-time MVP. Might be 3-time. Like, we don't know.
Should be 3-time.
Wow, really? You're one of those?
Oh my God, totally. If you took the names off the list and did not know Lamar Jackson had won the past 2, and you looked at the numbers, it's not even comparable. It really isn't. He was such a good quarterback this year, so much better statistically than Josh Allen in so many ways. It's not even, it shouldn't even be a conversation. It really shouldn't.
That's fair. Maybe it's kind of like Leo getting his Oscar, right? I think that's how I feel with Josh Allen. It's like he has earned the right to get this MVP in my view because of what he's done over his career in this amount of time. And I agree with you, Lamar, incredible season, everything like that. But I'm one of those people. I'm kind of dug in on Josh Allen. I think he deserves it for the season he put together, just because it's all about expectations, right? And I look back at the start of the year, and I'm just blown away what Josh Allen accomplished with this team that we thought had nothing left. We're on the flip side of Lamar. Not that I'm saying I expected it, but come on, man. The dude he got Derrick Henry. That was a huge upgrade to this guy who was already MVP before getting the second, third best running back of football. But yeah, for this game specifically, we know the stats about Lamar, right? Lamar, me and Chad have talked ad nauseum about this guy. He is probably my favorite quarterback to bet on in the regular season. He just is a cash cow. He is so good to me and Chad, and we kind of have a rhythm with him. We know at this number, you take him when it's under 3, right? You take him when it's above 3, you either fade or you just stay away. And, we can't avoid the numbers that are out there for the playoffs. And I know the fans get upset about them. They're like, you can't keep judging, right? Eventually, Peyton Manning got over the hump. I agree. He eventually will get over the hump. I'm not going to be betting on it. Like, he burned me so hard last year where it was lined up perfectly for him and his team, and he couldn't do it. And, he turned back into old Lamar. And, in the regular season, Lamar, 20-5 straight up in night games. Incredible. 20-5 straight up in night games he plays. That's an insane stat that he's 80%. In the playoffs, he's 0-2 in night games. And you'd be like, well, it's individual games. Okay. He lost to the Bills on the road, 17-3. And then he lost at home 28-12 against that Titans team. And that is, if you go through the day, like you said, Chad, double-digit favorites have performed really well. 17-1, straight up. That one loss is that Titans game. So, to me, there is something with this Lamar stuff where it's like, you can't overrate his struggles in the playoffs. I know people want to keep brushing it by, but it's like, if you look at the list of 2-time MVPs, just about all of them have Super Bowl rings. He's one of the few guys that, just has not lived up to the hype and performance of the regular season in the playoffs. So, to me, this is the worst matchup he possibly could have got. He's going against a divisional foe that has his number, that plays really well against him, and I am very dug in on this. Like, I just love this Pittsburgh team now. The only reason I'm not hammering people being like, you have to take Pittsburgh's money line, you got to do it, is just because of Tomlin's struggle in the playoffs. Like, his team just has not been winning these playoff games. And that is, you could say, well, he hasn't had the quarterbacks and everything like that. I do agree with that. But some of it is on Tomlin. Like, he's just not had great decisions at the end of these playoff games. And, I'm going to be betting it, but it's not going to be me and Chad's money line round robin, right? We're not that crazy at this point. So, or I should say our parlay we give out. So I do love it. I'm betting their money line, but to me, the smart, safe bet here is taking the +10 if you can still get it on this Pittsburgh team. I just think that's way too much value on a game that's going to be close. And Chad, we know the deal here. If we get one or two of those magical Pittsburgh bounces, which we've lived off of, they could upset and win this game. Like, if the momentum flips to them, Lamar is going to feel all that weight on him. And that, to me, is something that is kind of the human element of it. It's something that I can't put into my model, and we really can't put a number to it, but that's a real thing. Like, if it's midway through the third quarter and Lamar has 0 touchdowns and a pick, and he's down by, say, 3 or 4 points, he's going to be pressing. Like, there's no way he's not going to be pressing and try to push the ball downfield. And you just said it from the top of the show, Zay Flowers has missed 2 practices in a row at this point, and he's a long shot to play in this game. That's another thing that's not being talked about enough. So, yeah, I think you clearly can tell I am heavily invested, and I really like this Pittsburgh number.
I'm on the number 2. I don't buy the Lamar underperforming that in the playoffs. That data set for the 0-2 specifically, sometimes that just feels too small and circumstantial, and I feel like these players change and get more confident. And I think and this is an interesting bet, the Ravens are great in the first half. If the Ravens do what they're supposed to do in the first half, I think then he will be in a good position. I also agree with you, if they're struggling in the second half, some of that weight will come to bear. I'm not sure I buy the theory of anti-Lamar as much as I'm pro Steelers being better than they were when they played, a little less than a month ago. One of the hot bets for action is, and likely to me, a hot bet amongst regular bettors, is Baltimore first half, which is 6.5. Lamar, the best first half quarterback in the NFL the past 20 years. Steelers, the worst first half team against the spread in the NFL since 2021. Do you have a thought on the first half? The Ravens 6.5.
Well, I'll give you more useless numbers while I'm still here then. Lamar in his career, Chad, in a playoff game, he's never won a game where his team has given up more than 13 points. So, I mean, that's pretty alarming.
Don't take it personally that I'm not into one of your stats.
It's Evan's stat. Evan's taking it personally. I'm standing up for Evan.
Behind you.
But no, I just my whole point of just breaking down is that he's been choking, brother. Like, guys want to deny it and be like, say what you just said. They're like, well, he can grow, he can change. All right, well, let's fucking see it. I'm going to bet against it because it's like, I have no data to back up that he has grown and changed. He dominates the regular season and then he falls apart and does nothing in the playoffs. So we're going to see it. Like, these defenses know they're going to stack the box. They're going to make Lamar pass in this game. So yes, if Lamar doesn't get tight, we know we just said it, he's the second or first best quarterback in football right now. So
first.
I'm with you. I get it. So yeah, that's just my viewpoint is I think it is a great number with Pittsburgh and everything like that, and my model backs it up, but the human element of it, I'm just thinking psychologically, he just seems like he gets flustered in the playoffs, and that's panned out these last couple seasons.
What do you think of the total? It's at 43.5. It moved down from 46, so it's a big move. I think partially because of Zay Flowers. I think maybe because people think he'll be tight. I would expect that it'll be a low-scoring game.
You better hope. I just told you.
I know.
If his team allows more than 13 points, he loses Lamar apparently in the playoffs. But my view of it is, if we're taking Pittsburgh, we can't have it be a shootout. I have no confidence in Pittsburgh's offense in a shootout right now. Like that, Russell Wilson, we joked about from week 10 and all those, midweek throwing those 50-50 balls and it working out for him. That has not been there these last 4 or 5 weeks. And I think even Evan said it, right? He hasn't scored more than 17 points in these last couple of weeks. So, yeah, it's not a game that for us we want it to be a shootout, but I have no view on the total. Like I was going to bet the under, but I'm so invested in Pittsburgh. That's just my play.
Well, look, if it's the kind of correlation where it's a very low total with a very high spread. So in those circumstances, you tend to want to lean into the underdog because people expect it'll be a low scoring game and it's just harder to win by 10 points in a low scoring game. So I hope it goes out the way that we want it to. Denver at Buffalo. Buffalo is now a 9-point favorite. And the total's 47. This was a stubborn 8.5. One of the lines that barely budged during the week. It moved to 9, I think this morning at Bet365. So much freaking love for Bo Nix, so much fear of Sean Payton and what they can scheme against the Bills defense that has struggled late in the year. Buffalo 30th in EPA per pass allowed since week 9, 32nd in passing success rate. I don't know. It's not like the Broncos defense is impervious to criticism. Josh Allen has dominated man coverage, which is what the Broncos play. Bo Nix has been much worse against zone than against man, which is what the Bills predominantly play. I still like the Bills here. It just feels like it's primed for a veteran quarterback, makes all the right moves. Bo Nix at some point can't have his hand held by Sean Payton in the most crucial moment of the game. And like we saw against the Bengals, will make a bad mistake.
Yeah, and this will be all your credit if the Bills do come this number because you're the one that really believes in it. I am the one that's like I wanted to be on Denver. I feel like I'm being bullied because everyone I've talked to basically is the same as you. They like the Bills here, so I just put the Bills in a ton of teasers. Like you're giving me Bills at -2.5. That's an amazing number against a rookie quarterback making his first start on the road in the playoffs. So my fear is what you just talked about. This Bills defense. That's the fear. Like that, it feels like the back door will be always open. And if we get Josh Allen that we know and love, and he just goes full kill mode and he puts up 40 points, yeah, they're covering that number. They're going to absolutely roll this Denver team. But the fear for me is just if he has one or two bad drives, right? If he just doesn't perform well or just lets this team get back in it. We've kind of seen this Bills team. They let bad teams backdoor them, and now they're playing against an offense that is not bad. Like this is an offense that they know how to scheme it up for Bo Nix. They know how to get him out wide or out in the open to either run the ball or pass it on kind of simple reads. The biggest thing for this Broncos team, they very are much so Sean Payton's image of the Drew Brees, right? The quick read 3-yard pass. He really has embraced that and. That's the key with these young quarterbacks. If you can get them into 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3s, it's so important compared to them being 3rd and 8. Like, veteran quarterbacks can kind of get away with that stuff. Bo Nix cannot. Even though, the numbers might back up he's been good pushing the ball down the field. We've seen when he struggles against these good defenses, it's because he's in the long positions, right? And he tries to force a ball in, terrible turnovers. Like, he's still a rookie. So, yeah, I'm backing you here because you're my guy, and I do believe in this Bills team. It feels like, it feels lined up this year for that Bills Detroit Super Bowl, which, everyone, you got to be sick in the head if you don't want that, right? Like these two teams that have been through hell with their fan bases, it's lined up for them to make it, and this is the start of it. Like Josh Allen has struggled win-loss record-wise in the playoffs, where none of that to me is on him. Like you go back and you go through all those games, it felt like Josh Allen always put his team in the best position to win. And it was either the coaching or the defense that let him down in a lot of those spots. And the hope, obviously, is this year it all comes together in the perfect year that he's put together and they figured it out. But it's the same old Bills thing, right? They still have the weaknesses on the defenses, and I still have a little bit of questions about their head coach. So, yeah, like I'll back them here, but I'm already thinking about next week. Like I can't wait to really dive into next week Bills matchup. So, come on, Bills, got to win this one. I have a lot invested in this one, and for Chad, we got a lot invested in this spread.
The total in this game is 47. The luck rankings have this game as an under.
Yeah.
Um, what scares me is Josh Allen just going off, you know?
But even if he goes off, I think like even pros I've talked to, they've been hammering this under as well. I have no opinion on this total, but if you want to know the professional side, it is the under. Seen a lot of books now, even before we hopped on here, moving down to 46.5. So smart money is coming in. To me, when you mix in what it's going to be in Buffalo, how cold it will be, this could be the typical game, Chad, where the Bills win 40-0. I know it sounds crazy to even think about, but that's what like I would be scared too about Josh Allen going crazy. But I could see them rolling and then just the Broncos never getting off the bus. They're just totally outmatched playing against probably one of the better teams they've played all season, and they just kind of fall apart. So I get where you're coming from, but professionals love the under. The luck under is something that always jumps out to us. We always talk totals with the luck rankings. So if you're looking for what smart money is doing right now, the smart money from people we respect right now is on the under.
Green Bay at Philly. Philly is a 4.5 point favorite right now. Totals 45.5. Jalen Hurts practiced on Wednesday. He is expected to play on Sunday. No surprise. You mentioned that you've watched the tape from practice. You thought he looked really good. The line has not moved since he practiced because it was already priced in. Telling you right now, based on what you said and the fact that we love the Eagles here, feels like we're in the foxhole on this one.
All right, I love it. Let's go.
We are, but like it's just sort of been hanging at 4.5 since we spoke on Tuesday. The total has moved down from 47. I would expect it to be a very slow start by both teams. But I just think the Eagles are so much better than people are even recognizing because this defense is dominant.
Yeah, and I'm definitely trying to thread the needle here, taking Green Bay first quarter and first half. But to me, that to me feels like the smart play because of what we talk about. Like these teams kind of are what they are, right? Green Bay performs well in the first half. They're great on script. The Eagles, whatever may be the reason, even before his injury, Jalen Hurts just comes out slow. And we've seen that time and time again this season that they just do not perform well. And a lot of 3-and-outs early on, right? Until he gets into a rhythm, this offense doesn't really move the ball well. But yeah, for my biggest bets of this game, it's not even close. Like I'm heavily invested in this Eagles team at 3.5, at 4, at 4.5. Still been betting it even today. I bet it again when I got up this morning, and I'm just like you. I'm shocked this number hasn't moved off Jalen Hurts practicing, which either shows that some really smart money's on the other side on Green Bay, or the books are waiting to get the clearance that he is at a concussion protocol. That's what we're all waiting for. Because basically you have to do that practice like he did yesterday and wake up symptom-free today, right? No headaches, no, not feeling right, no headaches, any of that stuff. So, as we are on the air right now, me and Chad, I have not seen a single thing online, no text, nothing that says otherwise. So we're going to keep going forward like Jalen Hurts is playing this game, and he is all good. So, for me, matchup wise, I mean, I don't know if you saw that. Basically, they put out the players all pro votes for the NFL season this season. And basically, the way it works is players can vote for anybody but themselves and anyone on their team. So, you can vote everyone obviously in the league. And it jumped out to me that, the number one, or I guess number two, but he's still an all pro in their mind, is Jalen Carter at the D line position. And the fact that, Zach Braun, our linebacker, has got so much respect as well. It's like the Eagles have the defense. I think me and Chad and like everyone else, our biggest question mark right now is Jalen Hurts going to show up in this game? Because I remember I gave you that stupid stat about Lamar's never won a game when his team gives up more than 13 points. Jalen Hurts has never won a playoff game where his defense has given up more than 7 points, which sounds insane because he made it to a Super Bowl. But that's how that season kind of broke for them, where they played against teams that, the Giants weren't really that good that year, and then they got to play a Brock Purdy who they hurt in the first quarter, and then, the rest is history. Obviously, I talk about all the time, he had the best game of his career in that Super Bowl. He was incredible. He just ran into Mahomes. So this team feels like they're still being a little underrated here, and that if he was fully healthy coming into this game, this would be 6. Because how can we not talk about how serious of those injuries were to this Green Bay team? Like, they lost their number one deep threat receiver and their number one cornerback. And now they're playing against one of the best offenses in football and one of the best defenses in football. Like, to me, it's maybe I'm not giving enough respect to LaFleur, and that's what the other pros I've talked to who are giving tons of respect to him and just trusting him with this number. It's like you get LaFleur as a big dog like this, a 4.5 dog against an Eagles team that might be a little overrated in the public eye because of all the numbers we just talked about, the fact that they were such a dominant defense and everything like that this regular season. But yeah, I feel pretty good about this Eagles team, and I look at this as a rare opportunity that if this Eagles team, you could still get them at plus 700 for Super Bowl. And I think right now the Lions might be the odds-on favorite at plus 280 or plus 290. Do we really think there's that big of a difference between the Eagles and the Lions? I don't. I do think this Eagles team matched up really well for them. So it is interesting. The books are kind of not showing their hand, but they are a little bit. They believe in this Eagles team, but not as much as I clearly do. And they're kind of hedging their bets here, thinking they're not going to be the team coming out of the East here, or the NFC, I should say. So yeah, I'm interested in this game for that, just the biggest standpoint of how Hurts looks. But it's also a true test for this defense against the LaFleur offensive mind. Like, this is the ultimate test for them against the guy who, you're giving him a lot of time to face the defense for the second time around. You expect him to have this kind of figured out. But, to me, this Green Bay team is underachieved all season. I made that joke with you, Chad. They won the same amount of divisional games as the Chicago Bears did this season. They went 1-5. So this was a team that we joked about being the all-hype team. They lived up to it, even through the Jordan Love injuries and Malik Willis coming in. Like, they somehow found a way, and they got the raw deal of being, 11-win team now, being the 7th seed. So we wouldn't be shocked if Green Bay pulls off the upset, but I would be shocked in the sense of this is probably the best Eagles team I've seen in my lifetime, and this would be a huge disappointment getting knocked out at home in round 1.
Well, look, I do think that the Eagles are being a bit undervalued defensively. So much is made of Jalen Hurts, and I think from a public perspective, too much is made of him having been in the concussion protocol and being out, and not enough is made of just how dominant this defense is. I watched a lot of freaking Eagles games this year. I know you did too. You just wouldn't want to be playing this team. I agree with you about the Lions. Like, I would not want to have to face the Eagles, who are so good against the run, which is what the Lions need to be great at to get their offense going. Just looking ahead, handicapping a potential NFC title game. LaFleur is the X factor here.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've talked about it. We don't like to bet against LaFleur, so I understand the 4.5. The betting on the Packers at +3 in the first half is another bet that a lot of people have been talking about, also taking the under in the first half. The Eagles have generally been a bad team in the first half, especially bad in the first quarter. The opportunity for the Packers, because they will have been game planning those first 15 and scripting, is better for them first quarter, first half than it is over the extended game. So that's getting a lot of attention right now, betting the Packers at +3. So I understand that one entirely. That is our Fox hole, which brings us to, Simon, our Big Balls Bet of the Week, presented by Tommy John. If you've got the balls, Tommy John has the support. Great games start with great underwear, and Tommy John makes the greatest. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3-point favorites over the Washington Commanders. The total is 50.5, highest total of the weekend. It's a game featuring two average to downright bad defenses with two explosive quarterbacks who are not immune to turnovers. Yet we're going with the veteran game playing quarterback, playmaking quarterback over the rookie playmaking quarterback. I think because we think the Bucs are undervalued in this spot versus an overhyped team with a dynamic playmaker in Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and I get why the early money and some professional money is coming on the over. I do personally like the under, but it's simply because it is over 50. It feels way too high for a playoff game. And I know the first time they played it was 37-20 Tampa. So I get the perspective of, this. I feel like people think this is going to be a shootout, but from my mindset, it's like the Bucks can't have this be a shootout. They need to have a big Bucky Irving game. They need to lean on their run. Keep the limited snaps out of Jaden Daniels' hands, because that's how he gets you. Like, he is the kind of guy that he is, one of the more dangerous guys with the balls in his hand. And the more opportunities you give him to be on the field, he's going to get you. Especially this, like you just said, this Bucks defense. Todd Bowles can do a lot of scheming and kind of give him unique looks that he might not be ready for, but eventually he'll get you, especially if he can wear your defense out, not only with his legs, but using his offensive weapons. So interesting that this is so high. It's rare you see a 50, and especially when it's not, a Lamar versus Josh Allen game. Like, that makes more sense. Not a Jaden Daniels versus Baker game, but that's how great these two offenses have been this season. And what you just said, how average both these defenses have been. But, I look at this Bucks team, and as the weeks go along, I just love it more and more, just because I am in the sports books. I am talking to Joe Public in the line when we're all waiting to cash our tickets or make bets. And it is insane how much love and respect guys have for Jaden Daniels and this Commanders team. And they just want to bet him, right? That's the fun, sexy side, it feels like. And this Baker side feels like, this ugly, no one wants to bet it type of team that just limped into the playoffs. And, just like Chad, a lot of people don't respect the NFC South. I think that's a division that
I don't know why you would say that. I've never done anything but love and support the NFC South. Great franchises, a lot of memories, great moments in NFL history. People really rally around those brands.
But it makes me even more sick when you do think about, poor Matt Mitchell and these Lions fans. They've been around forever, and Tampa's here, a couple weeks, and they already got 2 Super Bowls. That's
Seriously.
the way it goes. I'm looking at it right now, and I just can't get over the fact that we're getting Baker and this veteran team. It's still at -3 against this Commanders. It does feel like, I know we love this Chargers number, and I do love it, especially at 2.5. But I really, really love this Bucks team. Like, this right now, other than this Pittsburgh line, is probably going to be my biggest bet this week. Like, I have pretty much all day, every day, I've been finding different books to get some money down on this Bucks line. And for the most part, I haven't been turned away too much from bookmakers, because it's been pretty heavy Commanders money. Like, this is basically the public's favorite dog this week, which, isn't shocking, right? They're a fun, exciting team. Geno Daniels is really fun. So I get where they're coming from, and the fact that, this could be a coin flip game, right? We'll know once it starts, but my view of it is just a rare opportunity to take on a veteran coach with a veteran quarterback who have had playoff success together. Just last year, they rolled that Eagles team. Like, they know how to play in these exact situations, this exact scenario. So, let me fade this overhyped Commanders team and take this Bucks team at -3.
I reviewed the show from Tuesday a little bit, and I think it sort of went over my head in the moment how much you loved the Bucks. And now you're being so clear about it. Like, it is a very good matchup, and the Bucks love to blitz. Jaden Daniels, not nearly as effective against the blitz. The total at 50.5, I like the under 2. One of the main reasons I like it is because Baker, obviously, we know, is a turnover machine. He's going to throw an interception at some point. But Jaden also, like, a few more fumbles than you'd like. Only threw 9 picks, 7 picks in the last 7 weeks of the season. So, like, he was so accurate and pick free in the first half of the year, but started to show a little bit at the end of the year. And those turnovers are just drive killers, right? And like, a lot of times they are happening in the opponent's half of the field. So then all of a sudden, instead of getting that touchdown or field goal, the other team is getting the ball and they're going on a long drive, eats up more clock, no points out of the drive that was headed in a good direction. So I don't mind the under here at all. Either at 50.5, especially, feels extraordinarily high.
And we've seen it, though, that, like, even the Cowboys, you can say, is not that good of a run team. They were pretty much running it down this Commanders team throat. And, Bijan Robinson, just a week before that, having his way. Saquon having his way. So, I know Bucky Irving is not putting the same sentence as those other guys I get it. He's the kind of new to the league, and he's not that type of talent. But if you really break down the numbers and look at what Bucky's done this season, he is a top 10 running back, in my opinion. Like, this guy is a workhorse, and that to me is going to be the game plan for the Bucks. Like for everything I read from their beat writers, and I wish I had sources on the inside. I unfortunately don't. I don't really have any connections down there in Tampa, but it feels like the way guys are talking about it, it's like going to be a heavy Bucky Irving game, and they're going to lean on that run, just keeping the ball out of Jane Daniels' hands. So, and what you just talked about, they need to protect Baker from himself sometimes, right? Like Baker can't help himself with turnover. You just can't have those stupid turnovers in the playoffs. Like that's going to cost you. So that's another reason why I like this under so much. Is it just feels like it's going to be a run-heavy game from this Bucks team.
Simon, here at the favorites, we know that feedback is a gift. And we're getting loads of feedback about my Tommy John reads. Our listeners keep hearing me talk about my downstairs, talking about my lowers. The reactions are mixed. That is the one thing about feedback. But one thing they all agree on, I'm very comfortable. Some might agree, too comfortable. But that's what happens when you're decked out in Tommy John. You unlock a level of comfort so overpowering, you can barely control what you say into a microphone. And with a special sale for our listeners, you too can achieve this level of comfort. And with thousands of 5-star reviews, you don't need to take my word for it. Simon, why will you be wearing more Tommy John in 2025?
Because comfort is king.
That's right. And right now, you can shop TommyJohn.com/favorites and get 25% off your first order. Save 25% at TommyJohn.com/favorites. That's TommyJohn.com/favorites. Last game on the board, Minnesota visiting the LA Rams. The line has moved from 2.5 to 1.5. It finally budged a little bit last night, early this morning. Wise guys definitely coming in on the Rams. The number is down to 1. It's down to half in some places. Total is 48. I think at the end of the day, we don't like to bet against Matthew Stafford, and we're getting him as a dog at home.
Yeah, and it's another game that I've taken the under on. And it's all about what my mindset is and my game script mind of. This feels like the type of game that is going to be run heavy for this Rams team, and we've kind of seen it now with this Brian Flores defense. That's how you can attack them. Like you really can attack them through the run because the way he kind of plays their style of defense. And we joked about it. Like Williams is one of the best running backs in football, especially when you get down in the red zone. The guy's a scoring machine. And Stafford, to me, since that Lions game, or was it Bills? I always keep mixing it up. I believe it was the Bills that they beat.
Yeah.
He put up whatever it was, 44, 42 points against that team. Since then, the offense has not been the same, right? They've been struggling. They've just kind of been a different team. I can't lie to you, Chad. I don't know what I'm going to get here from Stafford. Like it's been different. Maybe he's got a major injury I don't know about, and maybe that week off really helped that injury, and he'll bounce back. And this is the perfect situation for him, Puka, and Cooper Kupp. Like this is a great matchup for them against the secondary of the Minnesota Vikings. But I think it comes back to that Evans stat, right? About quarterbacks making their first start. Like this is Sam Darnold's first start. And we saw last week in a game where he had the weight of the world, the future of his career on him. He crumbled. He did. He melted in that game. Even when I went back and watched it, he missed so many opportunities and so many throws that he has just been nailing all season. Like we talked about, he's had one of the best seasons, ever put together by a Vikings quarterback. Like he really was the perfect general for that offense. And, KOC had ultimate confidence in him. Like the plays you draw up, it was like, okay, you got to take this hit here, but you're going to get a touchdown or a free release on one of your receivers here. Like if you can just hang in the pocket, let the route develop, it's going to be there. He just was not hitting that last week. And you saw that he got flustered, right? After he got a couple of hits to the mouth. Isn't that what the Rams are going to do here? Aren't they just going to bring a ton of pressure and be like, okay, it worked last week. Let's see if he figured it out in a week, or if this is what he is, if he is going to struggle against it. Because early in the year, he was great against the blitz. And it was alarming seeing how bad he was last week. So, yeah, this is a game where me and you could get burned, Chad. We could be overreacting to last week and Sam Darnold's struggles and underreacting to Matthew Stafford and this Rams team down the stretch here, that they have not been the same offense. But to me, this is really about trusting the numbers and the trends, that everything points to this Rams team. And you're still getting great value as them as a dog. Like I have him as over a 1-point favorite. We're still getting +1.5 at a couple books out there. And I know it doesn't sound like a big deal, but every point matters in the playoffs. It is a big deal. So yeah, to me, at +1.5, I still love the value on this Rams team, and yeah, I'm going to be betting them and the under here.
So this is a luck over. Um, a lot of expected regression to more scoring for both
Okay.
teams who obviously we saw the Vikings not score very much in week 18 against the Lions, and the Rams have been scoring less and less since that game against the Bills. So Dr. Nick and crew like this as a luck over. Simon, you're fading Dr. Nick. How does that make you feel?
It's not good. Maybe I'll do the cheat that Dr. Nick does. I'll just do the first half. I'll go first half over.
Coward.
Yeah, right.
All right. So the Rams, for some reason, are the game that I feel the least confident about. Uh, I like the number. I like them much more as a dog than a favorite. But essentially, if you're betting them at 1.5, you're saying you expect them to win the game, and I do. But I still look at this and like of all these, I feel best about I think the Bucks and the Chargers, and worst about uh the Rams and the Bills.
It's fair. And I told you, though, if you're feeling a little cowardly, throw them in a teaser, brother. Getting the Rams with seven
By
and
the
a
way,
half
Rams
is
and
a
Bills are
gift.
the perfect teaser. So if
Perfect.
that's what I'm feeling, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. All right, each week we give out a two-team money line dog parlay. This week it's a little bit different just because there's fewer dog options to really consider. Bet365 is going to boost the odds and highlight this money line parlay to their site all weekend under both promo pages. Remember, both games are eligible for Bet365's early payout promo, where your money line pick gets marked as a win if either team takes a 17-point lead, even if they are end up losing. If you want to bet this, bet it at Bet365. This week's boosted parlay is going to be the Rams and the Bucks. Find the boost under either the Rams or Bucks game pages on Bet365. I don't know if we can do a money line underdog round robin. Like, what are you going to do?
No.
Steelers, Rams, Commanders, Texans, Broncos? Like,
No, it's definitely the week you do the favorites. I've had a couple fans reach out that think that they've been saying, like, since week 10 and 11, they've just been going the other way because our money line Robins obviously have been dead on arrival. Dogs
oh
have
yeah.
just not been winning outright. So, I mean, if you want to go the other way, Chad, it's a fun week to do the favorites. Like, you take the Eagles money line, take the Bucks money line, you take the Rams in there, Chargers. Like, if you want to stay away from the high ones, like the Ravens and the Bills, I still feel pretty good about those ones you just gave out. Obviously, we only love one road team really this week, and that's the Chargers. But this week actually tends to be pretty good for the dogs, right? Historically, I don't know if Evan has the numbers on it, but it feels like normally dogs do cover on wild card weekend. Like, this is usually a good weekend for them. So money lines not so much, but if you are just throwing them into a round robin and taking the number, that's fine too.
Well, then I'm really thrilled that I'm going all in on the Chargers and the Bucks and the Bills. I'm super excited about that. And when we bring Evan on, he's going to make me feel even worse. What are your biggest bets right now? Bet Bucks and Steelers?
Bucks and Steelers, definitely, and then obviously teasers. I just been doing a ton of teasers. Rams. I told you when the Chargers got down to 2.5, I fucked the Wong. I went through the zero, took the Chargers up to +3.5, and yeah, Bills down to 2.5. It just feels like that's a gift. So yeah, those are definitely my biggest bets right now. Just straight bets. Tampa and Pittsburgh on their numbers.
Who should we go with for Scooch Roulette into the playoffs? You get the first choice since you were the season-long winner.
Thanks. Oh God, I love them all. I guess I will go with. I got to do it. I got to go with my boy Baker. I'll take Baker -3.
Ah, I kind of wanted to take Tampa. Darn you. All right, you're taking Tampa. Then I guess I'm going to go with the Chargers.
There you go.
I have to. All right. Before we get out of here, let's bring in Director of Research, Evan Abrams, for the final word. Evan, just make
What's going on, guys? Honestly, I have so much to kind of catch up here on because you've asked me a bunch of questions. So I'm going to attempt to go through a bunch of different things here, and you guys can stop me down whenever you want. So you were talking about like Josh, Lamar, and Hurts, obviously all three at home this weekend. Interesting enough, I kind of grouped them together because they all are kind of looking for still that Super Bowl win, all trying to get there. Obviously, Hurts has been there. They are as a group 8-5 straight up at home in the playoffs, but 1-7 away from home, which means nothing for this weekend, but also says that they just can't get that big one to get there. I found that kind of interesting. Uh, the second one I wanted to bring to you, as Simon just alluded to, since 2017, underdogs 52-34 in the playoffs against the spread, 61%, 17% ROI, but wild card round, they're actually 24-12, 67%, even better,
Wow.
30% ROI. So yeah, underdogs have had an advantage in this round. Let's keep going with another one Simon mentioned here. So we talked about the first playoff starts. Teams making quarterbacks making a first playoff start against a quarterback with experience. 19-37 against the spread, 19-38 straight up since 2002, and basically the same numbers on the road, 11-21 straight up. So that's Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, and Sam Darnold this weekend. Let me go to what Chad mentioned. So Chargers with this third straight road game. So yes, teams having their third consecutive road game are 39% straight up since 2003. But it is important to note favorites are 24-11 in that spot, including 3-1 in the playoffs. Now, Chad, I took
That's
your
right.
so hold on,
That
Chad.
is right. Nope, nope. We're good. You don't have to
We're
say
gonna leave
anything.
it there.
You
We're gonna
said,
leave it there.
you said to cut you
I'll
off when it's. I feel like we're good.
I
All
feel
right,
like
go
we're
ahead.
good
Say what
there.
you want to say.
I will just
Say
say this.
what you want to say.
You were talking about good coaches. So I look at it from like probably 2 points of view. I just took every coach who's won a Super Bowl of the list. They're 21-18 straight up in the spot as a road favorite third game or later. So above 500, I think it proves your point. We can move on from there. I think an interesting aspect that you guys
Evan
mentioned
is
talking
great at
about.
confirmation bias. He is the fucking best.
I really spend the entire show trying to make sure you guys look smarter at the end. So let's just keep going with that.
We need the help.
Zay Flowers, I think his impact on the field is worth discussing here. So 24.1% of the Ravens target share this year, which is almost 10% higher than the second player on the team, which would be Mark Andrews. And I think the biggest adjustment Lamar might have to go through if Flowers isn't on the field, he has 89 first read or design targets just for Flowers this year. That's 40 more than the other guy, Mark Andrews, on the team. So without Flowers, I just think he's going to have to adjust his first and second reads a little bit. So that could be interesting. I did look this up. So Tomlin, 0-5 straight up in the playoffs as a dog of 3 or more. He is the only coach with 5 losses and no wins since 2000 in that spot. So
What about against the spread in that spot?
I can look in a second, but the 9.5 is huge for him. But I have that in my article, so I can follow up. Let's keep going here for a second. You guys mentioned Pittsburgh and Baltimore having a lead. This one absolutely blew me away. So historically, it's been difficult for Baltimore to hold the lead against Pittsburgh. Since 2020, the Ravens are 2-7 straight up against the Steelers when leading at any point in the game. They are 2-5 straight up when leading by 7+ points, which is just unbelievable to me. So the narrative of them getting ahead and holding it hasn't been great before, but obviously different quarterbacks, different situations. I will give you 2 more here. So you guys like the Eagles. And something that I was kind of surprised by. So under Nick Sirianni, Philly is 24-2 straight up, 17-7-2 against the spread as a home favorite when leading by 7+ points at any point in the game. So really not giving away the lead at all. And when that opponent is above 500 in that spot, Sirianni is 14-0 straight up and 12-2 against the spread. So getting a lead shouldn't be an issue in this one, at least not historically. And then I know you guys like the Rams. So this is just one spot, and the Rams are the only team in this spot this week. So teams that become smaller underdogs, so basically open +4, close +3, are actually 45-20. 69% against the spread over the last 20 years in the playoffs, including 55-12 in a 6-point teaser. That is just the Rams right now, as every other line has held steady or gotten higher.
I gotta say, that's some of your best stuff of the season.
Wow.
Evan.
I'm peaking.
Loved it.
Right time here. This is perfect.
Loved it. while I'm reading the ad read for Bet365, see if you can find out how Tomlin is against the spread in those 5 games that we just discussed.
Working on
As
it.
a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365, and now new Bet365 customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code Favorites, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. I'm waiting to see in the chat if Evan has
You
the
want me to
answer.
just say it? I could say it.
Oh, yeah. Come back in and say it.
0-4-1 against the spread. I apologize.
Oh, my God.
Failing to cover the spread by 6 points per game. We can also just cut this out. I mean, he could be 4-0-1
Oh,
if you want. That's
Jesus.
complete.
Simon and I will return with our next episode of The Favorites on the Action Network YouTube page Sunday night after the Packers-Eagles game to recap the first 4 wild card games. Download us from Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your pods. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars, say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until next time, love you. And for those sticking around, here is our conversation with Daniel Winzenberg, our $40,000 first place finisher in the Favorites Pro Football Pick'em contest. Enjoy. It is truly one of our greatest thrills that we get to do the Favorites contest $100,000 giveaway, because we know we get so many people to engage with the show, and we know we get so many people who are playing every single week. This year, we gave away the grand prize winner, $40,000. And this guy, folks, had a miraculous run. He had more 5-0 weeks, more undefeated weeks than he had losing weeks. If he had not even played the final week, he still would have won the contest. He beat out 15,000 people to win the $40,000. He's North Dakota's finest gambler, Daniel Winzenberg. Welcome to the Favorites, brother. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on a show, and playing the contest made sure I had to do it every week. So it was great, and I love doing it and trying to figure out who's going to win or who at least cover.
Well, look, it turns out you probably didn't have to do it every week because you kicked everybody's ass and you still won the $40,000. You live in Bowbells, North Dakota? Bowbells, North Dakota. Dude, I looked on the map. Matt Mitchell sent it around to everybody. This place is tiny, tiny, tiny. It's dangerously close to Canada. And
Yes,
we know
please.
relations with Canada right now are strained. Are you nervous that you could eventually be co-opted by Canada, or Canada might become a member of the United States and there might be more people moving to your town?
Well, most people already think we live in Canada, so I'm not too worried about that part. And moving people to town, my hometown has 300 people in it. I live 10 miles outside of that, and my graduating class had 10 kids in it. So
No.
yes.
I gotta know, how does one have Wi-Fi? Do you have Starlink? How are you putting your picks in every week?
We do have Wi-Fi, and luckily data works on phone, so it's not too bad.
Give me the full story. How do you end up in this tiny speck of a town in North Dakota? Have you stayed there your whole life? What do you do there? Are you a farmer?
That is exactly what I am. Yes, I lived here my whole life. My dad and my uncle farmed, and then I just kind of joined in, and now me and my dad farm together. My uncle retired, so that's the story. So we don't need people. We just need a lot of farmland, and I have cows too. So that's most of my days.
What are you farming?
We do wheat, canola, durum, uh, oats, flax, soybeans, peas. Tried a little corn. We're not really in corn country, but
Oat, flax, and soybeans. You've
yeah,
basically described my entire diet. I
right.
may be the largest consumer of your product that there is in the United States. All right, so how did you get into gambling? Oh, before we do that, one more question. I'm obsessed with staying warm in the cold. I've turned it into sort of a little contest for myself as it gets more and more cold here in the Northeast during this dangerous polar vortex. So I'm very thoughtful about the coat that I wear. Do you have like an amazing winter coat?
Well, I don't know if it's amazing. Wear a lot of layers. Like anywhere you go, you have a sweatshirt and a big like winter coat, like a Carhartt, no
Carhartt.
matter
That's
where you
ooh,
go. Yeah.
Carhartt. Okay. All right.
I thought you were gonna ask
You-
about daylight savings. What's your view on that? That's the topic. We should be asking the farmer about. Should we change the
True.
clocks? Is that outdated?
We need to go to the actual daylight savings time because right now it's getting too dark too early.
There you go.
So, yeah.
All right. So give me your gambling lowdown. How did you get into it? And why are you so good at it right now? And so
Okay.
much better than me and Simon.
Yeah, teach us your ways.
Well, because I farm, I spend a lot of time by myself or in a tractor or any equipment. So all day, every day, I just listen to podcasts. And I got into our way I found you guys is I listened to Cowherd all the time. And years ago when Chad was on with Cowherd, I just wanted more gambling podcast. So I found out you had your own, and I uh, started listening every week. And like I said, I just listen to sports podcasts all day. So between what my opinions are and opinions I listen to other podcasters, I kind of see what I agree with, what I don't agree with, and then I don't know, kind of go from there, I guess. And then every Sunday, I'm still in the tractor. I don't get to take off to watch football. So I take an iPad with and put the red zone on and kind of just listen more than anything. So don't have a lot of time to watch it, but always paying attention, I guess.
I mean, that's the hard thing about being a farmer is the crops don't take a day off.
They
The
don't.
animals don't take a day off. You have to get out there every single day and tend to the land.
That is exactly what we have to do. So like I said, it's just because it's Sunday doesn't mean we take the day off ever. So once in a while towards the end of season, but not during busy season, which is pretty much from April to October.
All
Mm.
right, well, since you may be the greatest gambler who's ever lived, according to your record, I'm looking at it right now. You had zero, you had 1 week where you had 2 weeks where you went 2-3. One of them you got to drop. Every other week was 3-2, 4-1, or 5-0. The big story this year in sports betting is how frequently the favorites were covering, which like if you hear from publicly traded companies that are operators, they are talking about being 300 to 400 million dollars short in revenue against expectations because there were so many customer friendly outcomes. Did you make a transition? What was your strategy through the year with regard to favorites and making your picks every week?
Bet against bad quarterbacks. Will Levis against him every week. Like, I mean, until he proved me wrong, and he didn't. So, and I guess the other thing, I'm sure Simon has a better idea on this than me. I don't think like home field advantage meant anything this year. So, I mean, even betting favorites, I was doing a lot of road favorites and it was paying out. I hated it. I'd rather bet like you guys and bet home underdogs, but it just was not working out this year. So, yeah, road favorites seem to be cashing big time.
Well, when did you realize that? Because it took us about 16 weeks to figure that out.
I don't know, maybe after week 8 kind of is when I started going. I found out after week 10 that I was in the running for winning. I think I was in second place after week 10, and then I hated it. I don't know how you guys do it. There was so much stress on it, and I had no money into it.
Well, yeah. So tell us about
That's what I
like,
was gonna ask. What's the
yeah.
stress like? Because I mean, that's crazy. Every week you're chasing a big prize, and you know that you can't. You literally couldn't have a bad week, even though you didn't know that you could have had a bad
Right.
week. You were that far ahead. What was that stress like? Were you losing sleep, or what was it just on your mind 24/7?
It was, yes, on my mind. I'll tell you another story. Week 14, my girlfriend planned a trip for us to go to Punta Cana, which is awesome. Loved it. And I was more stressed about getting my picks in because I didn't know if I could get them in when I was in another country,
Oh
if I was
yeah.
going to have Wi-Fi, if I was going to miss 2 weeks. So on the plane ride down there, I ended up putting my picks in early, which I'll tell you another story about that afterwards. And on the way back, we didn't come back until Saturday.
Mm.
So I was sitting in the airport in the Dominican, listening to all my podcasts, trying to get them taken care of. And as soon as we landed in DC, I went and made my picks, so to make sure I could get them in time. But when we were in Punta Cana, we're on a beach, all-inclusive resort, and there's this little tiny sports bar in the corner of the lobby, and I made her go in there and watch football with me as I was trying to like cover it or try to watch to see what was going on, which luckily we just went for the end of the late games, but we were still in there for like 2 hours. And turns out I ended up going 5-0 that week and picking the exact number of passing yards on Monday night. So it ended up working out pretty good. So it was a pretty good trip.
Jesus. So you won so much more than the 40 grand. You probably won multiple weeks going
I
5-0.
just 1 week I got paid out because I wasn't very good on the Monday night passing yards. I kind of just, I think I just picked the same number about every week, whatever happened week 1 or week 2, and just kind of rode with it because
Yeah, that's a scary 8 weeks to know you're that close. And for
yes,
every week, have you been in that kind of position before, like as a gambler or any other scenario where you've had to carry that kind of stress related to executing on a week to week basis?
not like this. No,
Farming doesn't do that to you.
no, there's a little bit more leeway doing that. I mean, you got to make great decisions, and it's, yeah, a lot of money involved in it, but it's not the stress like this to where one bad week and you're out completely.
When did you realize that you won it all?
I I knew for sure after the early games on Sunday because I think I had a 3 game lead and the person in second and third, they were tied. And we both had 1 game left, and the other 2, they couldn't have caught me. So, I mean, in gambling, I was not taking anything, not saying I win until the clock hit 0, but because actually the week before I had uh the Broncos Bengals game, and I picked the Broncos plus 3.5, and my girlfriend's family was up, and I made them watch the game, and I was kind of explaining to them what happened. And when the Broncos got the ball back, or whichever way it worked, with the 3 point lead, I said, "Well, the odds are I should win," but I said you can never count a win until it happens. And when the Bengals missed that field goal, I about walked out of the room or bounced it off the post.
Yeah, I nearly drove my car into a median on the Major Deegan.
Yeah.
Everyone has their burdens. So have you told anybody,
A
including
few
your girl?
people have told, some of them don't believe it. They and then I've been talking about it for probably, I don't know, 4 weeks that I'm in this contest, I got a chance, I'm in the top one. And then I told them about it last night, and they're like, "What? We've never even heard anything about this." I was like, "Well, I kind of have been talking about it for the last month, so that's kind of on you guys." So,
Have you told your girlfriend?
yes, she was the first person that I told. She was following my picks for the last few weeks. Like, I would message them, and she would save them so she could follow them too.
Good for her. Did she make any money?
Um, we don't have a casino close. Like, we can't really bet very often, but once or twice a year we'll go down to the casino, the sports book, where it's about 2 hours away, and we'll sit like one Sunday and just watch games. We'll probably end up doing it one of the playoff days too, but we
Have you decided what you're doing with the money yet?
a little bit kinda. I ended up buying some cows the other day after I won.
Good man.
So some of the profits will go to that. And then my other idea is I got really big into like sports memorabilia. So I buy a lot of cards and stuff. And when I started this, my plan was I wanted an autographed jersey of all the Minnesota Twins retired numbers. And I'm halfway through getting them. So the other part of it might go to buying the other half. I still need a Kirby Puckett, Harmon Killebrew, and which other one do? Oh, Kent Herbeck.
Oh,
So
by the way, let me see if I can remember. Ken Herbeck, 14.
yes,
Man, come on, Simon.
Now I do have one request, Daniel. Can you please name these cows after me and Chad that you just
yes,
bought?
that is what. Yes, these are going to be known as either the favorites or the Action Network group. So
Yeah.
How many cows did you buy?
well, I bought 36 of them. So
No.
actually,
You got a ton of acres.
yeah, this 40,000 is not going to quite cover all of them, but luckily I needed them anyway. This is just helping out. So
Wait. You bought 36 cows?
yeah,
Guy's an American
did.
hero.
Yeah. What are you going to do with those cows? Are they cows that you're going to do you milk those cows? Like what are you a
They're
dairy
the
farm, beef farm?
beef farm. They'll have calves, and then I'll sell the steers, and then I'll probably keep the heifers, and then either uh get a bull to breed them, and then I'll sell them as bred heifers the next year, or I'll just keep them for myself and just kind of keep having calves. So
Yeah. Can you just do us a favor? Whichever cows you name, Simon and Chad, let's not kill those cows. Let's make
I'll keep
sure
those ones.
those cows live a happy, long life, just chewing on grass and whatever else cows eat, and
Yeah.
make them warm and comfortable out there in North Dakota. One last question. Do you have a favorite win from the season? I bet this Bengals loss was your favorite loss, was your worst loss. Do you have a favorite win?
Do you ever remember the wins, or do you just remember the losses?
Just
Only the
remember the
losses.
losses.
That's how you know you're a true gambler right there.
I
Dan.
guess it was. I don't even remember who they were playing. Was it? It was probably week 14 when we were in Putakana. Uh, the Jets were playing, I think, the Dolphins,
Yeah.
Yep.
and I don't remember what happened exactly.
I do.
I know the Dolphins ended up covering. It was terrible time management, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end, to like get it to overtime and whatever. I mean, that would probably be it. But just because I won that week, we were in Putakana, and should have been no reason I should have won that week.
All right. Daniel Winsenberg, Bow Bells, North Dakota, graduating class of 10, town of 300, soon to be co opted by Canada, for all we know. Congratulations on winning the Favorites Podcast $100,000 pro football pick'em contest. The Cow King of North Dakota, who's going to name his heifers after Simon and Chad. I wish we had just tailed you the whole season, Daniel. Congratulations on a
Thank
huge.
you. I do have one more question for you
Sure.
guys.
We got all the time in the world.
The big contest that was in Vegas that you guys enter. Who won that and how many?
Oh gosh, I don't even know who won that this year. Simon, do you know the circuit contest?
No, I don't know. I
Or more
do.
importantly, how many did they get right? Where would have I been placed in that one?
I don't know. We'll have to look that one up. But as far as we're concerned, there's no bigger champion than you.
That's what I think too.
You are the hero of the favorites contest. Congratulations.
Thank you.